Hi, and welcome back to the Hoosier Homestead. It's Sarah, and I'm going to be doing an Azure Standard Haul today. Alex just brought it home from our drop location, and so I just finished unboxing all of it. And we're gonna go through kind of everything we bought, a little bit about Azure Standard, and then just some tips and tricks if it's your first time ordering with Azure. If you're thinking about ordering from Azure, I'm just going to kind of share the things that I've learned along the way. So I'm excited to have you join me today. So just a little bit about Azure. It is kind of like a co-op. It's centered in the Pacific Northwest. And so the way that it works is you place your order online. They have a variety of food items, home cleaning products, bulk items, just all kinds of things. I actually got some plants this time, so they have like a little greenhouse section and seeds as well. And then typically about, for us, we live in the Midwest, Southern Indiana. A week after I place my order, our truck will arrive at a central drop location. And so we all meet at this location, and it's a big semi truck that comes. Everybody helps unload. Our drop is actually very well organized. We have little name plates. And so as everybody's taking items off the truck, they put it on your nameplate. And then as you're ready to take your items and put them in your car to leave, you know, okay, I'm supposed to have 9 boxes. So you inventory the items on your little nameplate, make sure everything's there, and then you can load it in your car and you can be on your way. And then the Azure Standard truck leaves, goes to its next drop location on its route. So you do have to pay for shipping with Azure. Shipping is 8.5% of your order. And in addition to that, so when I order, I typically have the money drafted straight from our bank account. I know that there are some people who aren't as comfortable with that and they prefer like maybe a credit card type thing for safety or security reasons. Just know that Azure does charge an additional fee if you choose to go that debit or credit card route instead of just having the money drafted. And I think that's because basically they have to pay a fee through the credit card companies. So yeah, we have a drop that's about 40 minutes away from our house. And we haven't done an Azure Standard order in a video in quite a few months. And one of the reasons for that is now that we live a little bit further out rurally, sometimes when the weather is bad, it's actually really hard for me to get to our drop location. It is in the city close by us, but for me to get there along with our 2 kiddos is actually kind of difficult. And then, you know, helping unload the truck with the kids in the car, especially if it's cold outside. And so I just kind of paused over the winter time and I waited until the weather got a little bit better. And then I decided to start picking up my order again, which something great about Azure Standard is if you do decide to do that, you know, you can order in bulk quantities to kind of get you through. You know, maybe you only want to order every 3 months or every 6 months, something like that. That's the great thing about being able to order large size items. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go through some of our frozen and refrigerated items just because, you know, they made the 40-minute drive home and I want to get those in our fridge or in our freezer. And then we'll cut the video and then I'll come back and show you everything else and give you some tips and tricks along the way. So the first frozen item, which I'm really excited that these actually made it, is our strawberries. So these are frozen whole strawberries. They do say natural on them. You can pay more. You can get the ones that say organic. Just know that Azure works very hard with either growing the items themselves at their farm or sourcing items from farmers who do not spray. They, you know, they don't approve of glyphosate, of chemicals, of things like that. You can get on their website. You can look at the statements from their CEO. And so it doesn't worry me as much if I'm buying a frozen fruit item like that, a berry, something that might normally be like on your dirty dozen list that they say, oh, always buy organic. I know if I'm getting it from Azure, it's going to be top quality, and I'm not as concerned about paying the extra money before that organic label on it. So Alex actually texted me and I was super disappointed. He was like, Sarah, our strawberries aren't here. And so I thought maybe someone else had accidentally grabbed our box, or they had, forgotten to pack it with our order, because they used to come in their own box. But I was really excited as I was unpacking. I found them in a box with some other frozen stuff. So that made a happy day for me. We usually use these in things like smoothies or just treats for the kids. I can take them out frozen and let them thaw, and then the kiddos enjoy eating them. So they do, if you choose that, they do get a little soggy, and that's okay. Um, our 3-year-old is in the background, so if you hear some background noise, that's what's going on. He's actually being really good, though. I'm really proud of him. So then, if you've watched one of my Azure videos before, you know that this is a repeat item for us. This is our 5 pounds of frozen hash browns. They are cubed and they're individually flash frozen, which is nice. You don't have like a big chunk that's stuck together. The only ingredient is frozen potatoes. There's no additives, no preservatives, nothing like that. They are great for breakfast casseroles. They are great for putting in a skillet and making hash browns in the morning if you want something like that. I absolutely love them, and it is something that is in every single Azure Standard order that we place. So then the next one I have are 2 different types of tortillas. So if you go to the store and you look at normal tortillas, there's usually a lot. I mean, like we're talking 20 plus ingredients in a package of tortillas. Now, do I buy those? Absolutely. And one of the reasons is because we want tortillas. I do not have a tortilla press. I don't have time with 2 little kids to hand roll tortillas myself. A better option, you can get tortillas in the refrigerated section at your grocery store. They usually have less items. Typically, they do still contain a seed oil. So if you're trying to avoid that, just keep that in mind. A lot of times it's canola oil, but still a better option than, the ones that are just in like the aisle with all the other Mexican food items. And so the refrigerated sections ones, you just keep them in your refrigerator. You take one out at a time, cook it on the skillet. It takes about 30 seconds, flip it, cook it for 30 more seconds, and it's done. They're delicious. But Azure offers frozen tortillas. So this is Stacys Organic. They're flour, white flour. And the ingredients are organic white flour, water, organic sunflower oil, baking powder, salt, and citric acid. And so I do think they offer these in 2 different sizes. And so I have a pack of those. We'll keep them in the freezer and we'll take them out as we need them to heat them up. And then one of my friends actually ordered the yellow corn version of these. These are also, they came frozen, but the package says keep refrigerated. And so I thought these are kind of fun for like a street taco vibe. I've never tried them before, but she ordered a couple of packs of their yellow corn. We're not huge yellow corn tortilla fans. And so I was like, hey, I'm going to try some of the white corn ones. So we'll have to let you know if we like them or not. And then the last item that I have that is cold is our cheese. We absolutely love cheese from Azure Standard. So the first one I have is, it's a 5-pound block. It is raw milk cheese, and it's the Monterey Jack. So this is a great item to purchase. If you have kiddos like we do, or if your family just goes through a lot of cheese, it's really hard for me to find raw milk cheese locally. Something I've noticed about this cheese, it lasts a very long time in the refrigerator, which is wonderful. But a great way to prepare this for storage, you can actually ask Azure in your order to send you these little labels. In the notes section, you can just say, hey, can you send me some extra cheese stickers or cheese labels? And they'll send you like a whole little sleeve of them. And so then when you get your 5-pound block of cheese, you can slice it, maybe put some parchment paper between the slices. You can freeze it that way. I've seen people take their blocks and shred it by hand, shred it with a food processor. We have like a hand crank cheese grater that actually works really well. And then you could either flash freeze your shredded cheese or just put it in a bag and freeze it. If you put it in a bag without flash freezing it, it might kind of stick together. But that's just kind of some ideas. Maybe you have a smaller family, maybe you aren't going to go through this block as fast as someone else does, but that's a great way to save some money by buying bulk. So I did write down the prices. I kind of wanted to share with you. So I didn't want to order 10 pounds of cheese this month because you can order like smaller individual sizes, or you can order a 5-pound block, or you can order a case of this, which is 2 5-pound blocks, so 10 pounds of cheese. So this block, if you just order one, is $41.70, meaning it was $8.34 a pound. However, maybe you get with a friend, which is what I did, and I was like, hey, do you want to split a box of this? And she said, yeah, sure. So I got us a 10-pound box, and so we paid $68.25 for that, meaning it was $6.83 a pound. So per pound, I saved $1.51. So that's just kind of a tip or trick if you're looking at ordering some of these bulk things. I've split wheat berries, I've split flour, I've split oats. We've ordered cases of avocado oil, and you get 6-gallon jugs and divvy it up between 3 friends. We've split big cases of onions before. So just see who's around you who might be interested in this, and you might be able to save a little bit of money that way. Something else that kind of comes in handy if you have little kids, maybe your drop is a little bit further away from you, but you have some friends who are interested. You can see my boxes back here. These are actually for my friends. I'm going to see them tomorrow. So we went and we picked up the order and brought it back. And so then unboxed everything, made sure everything was here. There's actually one item missing. I'm going to reach out to Azure about that, and I'm sure they're very good about getting back to you, whether you call or email, and so they will refund the money for that. But just making sure it's all here, and then we just Venmo each other. Of course, you could always do cash too. But then that means that only one person has to make that 40-minute drive to the drop location. And so, you could switch that up. You could take turns going to the drop location if you wanted to, based on whoever's schedule is more available. And so I just thought that was kind of a neat idea. We are so hoping to get a drop location closer to us. We've actually had 2 that have tried. One, like the spot that they chose, Azure ended up saying, hey, that's not going to work, because you do have to have a big enough location for people to come and park their cars, get the food, but also for a semi truck to be parked. And then the second one, they approved the location, but on the route, while it's closer to us, it's so far off the route that the drop minimum that everybody would have to meet was very high. And so we just haven't been able to meet that minimum. And so at that point, you have the choice, like, do you just not order from Azure, or do you switch to a different drop? And so that's what I do. I just switch back to our normal drop location. So kind of a little bit in between there, tips and tricks. But the last thing I wanted to show you before I go to put all of this in the fridge and the freezer is mozzarella cheese as well. So this is another 5-pound block. We do a lot of homemade pizzas here. If you've watched one of my previous videos, you probably heard me talking about my sourdough skillet pizzas. I love Farmhouse on Boone, Lisa Bass, and so I use her recipe. However, I've recently switched over to milling my own flour at home, and doing lots of freshly milled flour instead. And so one of the things that we've been doing is making homemade pizza crusts. Not sourdough discard pizza crust, but still, we at least, I would say, once a week are having pizza of some sort. It's just a favorite around here, and it's super easy. And so I will put this whole block in the food processor probably and shred it and freeze it that way. And that way I can just have little pre-measured packages anytime I need to, make a pizza, I can get out my little package and I have exactly, if it's 1 cup or 2 cups, however many cups of cheese I want to put in my bag, I have the exact right amount. Okay, we are back. Alex will be super excited that I learned how to cut the video. Well, not cut the video. Here's my little guy in the background. I learned how to pause the video, meaning he doesn't have to make the cuts in between each segment. So I got all of the frozen and refrigerated stuff taken and put away. So I thought this was really neat. I've never ordered from the Azure greenhouse before. So I wanted to try it. I've ordered seeds from them and they grew beautifully last year, just some herb seeds. But I recently planted asparagus seeds and I truly know nothing about growing asparagus. But as we're building up the homestead, I thought that would be a great early spring produce item to have here. And so we tilled our little plot. I planted the seeds. I had no idea what they're supposed to look like as they're coming up, if they're going to come up. I know it's one of those things that takes 2 years to establish. Well, they had little 6 packs of asparagus for sale from their greenhouse. And so I got, this is green asparagus. And then I got another pack, and this one is red asparagus. And so now at the very least, as I go out there, once I plant these, I know what they're supposed to look like, and can kind of look around and see if maybe some of my other seeds, if they actually did germinate or not. I did direct sow them into the ground rather than starting them out as seedlings. I had terrible luck with seedlings this year. I talked about that in our previous video. The garden is doing beautifully thanks to our Amish neighbor who has a fabulous greenhouse. But my seedlings did not do well. So I'm excited to plant those. And then, of course, I was looking around as I was looking at the greenhouse stuff, and I'm like, oh, we didn't get any cherry tomatoes. So I got one cherry tomato plant. I know, super prolific. We're going to plant it away from everything else, because if not, I'm going to have cherry tomatoes volunteering, popping up everywhere. And then our neighbor, who I did get the rest of my plants from, she was all out of peppermint. And so we really like peppermint for teas in the summertime, or putting in our kombucha for flavoring. So I'm going to plant this in a container on our porch. That's where I have all of my herbs. If you're planting any type of mint, I highly, highly recommend a container, or even a raised bed. It will take over. It'll send out runners. You will never, ever be able to get rid of it. So keep that in mind if you're considering planting mint. I do not ever plant this straight in the ground because it's not worth dealing with. So those are all my plants. And then I have one home goods item. So Azure has their own brand. It's called Azure Clean. And from them, you can order dish soap, hand soap, laundry soap, dishwasher detergent, all that kind of stuff. And so I really just wanted some plain dish soap, fragrance free. I love that. We do not do any fragrances in this house, no endocrine disruptors. We are super sensitive to it. It gives me a headache. It makes me feel nauseous. So I don't want it around the kiddos. It dries our hands out. So we do all fragrance free. Normally I buy their Castile soap and I love it. Well, Alex is not a fan of me making, in particular, the dish soap with Castile soap. He wants a more gel, liquidy type dish soap, which is totally fine. So you can order this, in huge quantities if you want. You could just refill the bottle. If you have your own type of pump or bottle, you can order, a gallon of it, 5 gallons of it, and refill and save with that bulk pricing. So excited to have this. And then everything else I have here is just some pantry staples for us. So I do sometimes make mayonnaise at home, but if not, I love the Chosen Foods brand. You can also get this at Thrive Market. I know some grocery stores also sell it. Our grocery store does sell it, but it's half the size and it's double the price. So if I know that I'm running low on mayonnaise and I'm putting in an Azure order or a Thrive Market order, I always put the mayonnaise in there. As a bonus, this is their 24-ounce jar, and it is glass, so you can reuse it. I save all my glass jars. I actually forgot that I ordered this. I was just talking to a friend about avocado oil and bulk ordering it recently. So this is their refined cold pressed avocado oil. I a lot of times order it in gallon jugs because we go through so much of it. And we use it for cooking and baking. But their prices recently went up, and so I must have seen that and just ordered the 32-ounce one also. And Mom Brain, I just ordered some from Thrive Market too, so we'll have some back in our pantry. It's not going to go bad. It's going to be stored in a cool, dark place. But yeah, I have more avocado oil. So then I talked about our pizzas earlier. These are a staple for us. We always get the organic mushrooms from Azure, and the ingredients are organic mushrooms, water, and sea salt. No gums, nothing like that. And I love whenever you open these cans, and the ones from Azure particularly say that you're getting a can that has no BPA in the lining. And so if you're someone who's very conscious about the things coming into your home, how they're prepared, what chemicals they've been exposed to, that's a very big deal. And then these are the sliced black olives. And so the ingredients in these are, if I can find them, ripe olives, water, and sea salt. So once again, no yucky stuff, no preservatives. We store these in our pantry until we're ready to use them. And I normally get, it comes as like a case, so like 6 of the black olives at a time. And then I usually get 3 of the mushrooms at a time. We love Azure's canned fruit. That was the top of the lid that I was just showing you, was one of their fruit cans. We go through these like crazy. So pear slices and yellow cling peaches. They are both canned in organic fruit juice from concentrate. So, oh, hold on just a second. That's the baby. I'm gonna have to go get him. Okay, got the baby. Gave him to Alex. I say the baby. He's a year old. He just turned a year old in May. They are all currently in the playroom building Lincoln log houses, which I think is just adorable. Not really sure who's having more fun, the boys or Alex. It's always a hard pressed bet on that if Lincoln logs or Magna tiles come out. But back to our fruit. So a lot of times when you go to the grocery store, you'll get cans of fruit, and if you're not looking carefully, they'll come in heavy syrup or even light syrup. Artificially sweetened water is another really big one. And I just don't like giving that to our kiddos. I do prefer to can my own fruit when possible, but this is great. You know, a lot of times I open one of these for lunch and the boys and I just split it, whatever it is. And I know that they're getting fruit. I will say, I'm a huge fan of Aldi, but we are just not a huge fan of their canned fruit. I don't know. It's like almost like crunchy, like the pears and the peaches. It's just not a good texture or consistency. I'm not sure how to describe it. So for Aldi, absolutely love it. But if I'm getting canned fruit, I really do prefer the ones from Azure. So our next pantry staple, they have a ton of pasta to choose from. This is actually Coruscant pasta, or kamut is like the trademark name. So it's an ancient grain. It's going to have a lower gluten percentage. It's going to be easier to digest. So I got their elbow macaroni this month, and this is the 2.5-pound bag. But you can get this in larger quantities if you wanted. They have all different kinds of shapes of pasta. We really love their einkorn pasta also. That's another option, another ancient grain that you can choose. And just, you know, if I'm making something that's pasta based, it just makes me feel a little bit better that I have a healthier noodle option for that base. I do make my own pasta occasionally. I do not have a pasta attachment right now though for my KitchenAid, or I don't even have a hand crank one. And so if I'm making homemade pasta, I'm literally rolling it out myself, cutting each individual noodle. So it is quite the labor of love, but it's one of our favorite ways to preserve eggs and also to use our duck eggs. So then I have some honey. This is 12 pounds of honey. I know it seems like a lot, but this is what we bake with. This is what I use this in place of sugar, essentially. Honey and maple syrup are my two big ones. So anytime a recipe calls like a bread or a muffin, something like that, I'm substituting with it. So I go through a ton. We also use it in our yogurt as a sweetener because I make our yogurt homemade, but it's just plain whole milk yogurt. Whenever I'm doing something like that, though, I do typically like to use local honey because it's raw, it's unfiltered honey, so you're getting all the benefits of that local pollinator, especially if you're someone who struggles with allergies. But if I'm baking it and the temperature is going to be heated in the finished product, then I'm using something like this bulk from Azure. A great way to store this, I ladle this out into quart or pint size mason jars, stick a metal lid on them, and I stick them in a cool, dark place, which for us is our pantry, until I need them. And then I have a smaller quantity to deal with. It doesn't crystallize as soon if that happens, which of course, if it does crystallize, you can always just, rewarm it with some warm water and stir it while you're doing that. I like to put mine on the stove, just in a pot of like warm water, the glass jar, and I'll stir it as I slowly heat the honey, and that will get rid of the crystals. And then once it's cooled back to room temperature and is the liquid consistency like you're used to, I stick it back on the counter. So going along with sweeteners, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of just plain sugar, even just plain organic sugar. So we're gonna try Sucanant. I hope I'm saying that right. And so I got this. I really like this company, this wholesome company. We've ordered from them before. I'm not a specialist on different types of like sugar and how they're processed. I just know that this is processed in a different way, and it's supposed to be a little bit healthier than just like even your raw organic sugar. So we're going to try that in some of our baked goods. And then the last two that I have, like I said, I mill my own flour here at home, freshly milled flour. So I have 5 pounds of hard red wheat, and these are whole wheat berries, and 5 pounds of einkorn. So normally I order from a company called Janie's Mill in Illinois. Absolutely love Janie's Mill. If you are a home miller, look up Janie's Mill. They're fabulous. We get our flour, I shouldn't say flour, I order wheat berries, but you can order flour from them as well. We get our wheat berries from them on a delivery route, and I bulk buy. I'm typically buying 25 or 50 pounds of wheat berries from Janie's Mill at a time, putting it in a 5-gallon bucket with oxygen absorbers, a gamma lid, and storing it in our pantry. But I ran out. And as I'm waiting for our next Janie's Mill order to come in, I knew that I wanted some, and I knew my Azure order would kind of be sandwiched in between. And so that's why I prefer to order from Janie's Mill when I can, especially because we personally know that family and love supporting them. But when it doesn't work out time wise and I need something, I know that I can get good quality bulk berries from Azure. As well as if you're someone who's not freshly milling your own flour, that's okay. Azure has bulk flour that's already milled. So that is actually the last of my items. So if you are a first time orderer from Azure, you're placing your very first order, first time customer, that's the word I was looking for. You can type in a code, and we'll put this information in the description box of the video. If you have an order of at least $100 or more, keep in mind that's the subtotal, then you can get 15% off your order. So I remember when I placed my very first Azure order, I was like, okay, I'm going to get everything I need. That way I can make sure I get a big discount because that is a one-time use code and you can only use it for your first order. So we'll make sure that we put that link in the description for you. And then just kind of an exciting life update. I recently got my home-based vendor license. And so I'm working on, in addition to selling our eggs from home, from our chickens and our ducks, I am selling like homemade yogurt and baked good items and just, other things like that. Because of that, we made a Facebook page. And so the Facebook page is just, it's a way for me to communicate with our customers if they're placing orders. That way I'm not using my personal Facebook. But in addition to that, I'm sharing just some fun things about our homestead, healthy tips and tricks. Yesterday we had Employee of the Week Tuesday. And so I did a little feature on one of our geese. We call her Lucy Goosey or Lucy. And then I have like Food for Thought Thursday, just a helpful food tip about maybe a switch that you can make. I did like a fun fact Friday. I've had a lot of people ask if they can bring their kiddos out to our farm or our homestead. And, previously I used to be a teacher. And so I typed up this little post about, my background and we'd love to have your kiddos out. We don't do farm tours. But it's just a fun way for me to share a little bit more about this homesteading life and lifestyle that we have chosen to live with our kiddos. And so we would love it if you want to go over to Facebook and follow along with us. You can follow the page. We'll put the link for that in the description box as well. And just keep in mind, if you are not local to us in Southern Indiana, I'm not shipping any products or anything right now. It's all just porch pickup at the homestead, or I meet people in town occasionally. So I'm not able to ship or anything like that. But I do hope that you join us again soon in the future. Our next video we're planning on making, we've had a ton of rain here in Southern Indiana. If you live in the Midwest, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about this year. And so this weekend we are having our biggest tractor, chicken, hoop, whatever you want to call it, move that we've done so far. It's currently close to our house. We are moving it like all the way up on the other side of our garden into the front pasture. And so we're just going to kind of document that move, the new setup, why we are putting it there, as well as some of the things that we do along the way. So I hope you'll join us for that. Until next time, see ya.